NBCSN, your home of motorsport, welcomes you to America's heartland for the Iowa Corn 300 here at Iowa Speedway. It's the 13th round of the 2015 Verizon IndyCar Series on a beautiful night here in Iowa. And as you can see, there are plenty of people ready to see what we've already seen this year, and that is plenty of action in the Verizon IndyCar Series. Ready to get things going already now. This is the 9th consecutive year of IndyCar racing on this oval, and there is James Hinchcliffe continuing his miraculous comeback. He's got one more surgery to have done, and then he really begins his rebuilding program to getting back in an IndyCar. He wishes his fill-in driver, Ryan Briscoe, all the best. There's a man who won on an oval for the first time in his career just a few weeks ago at Auto Club Speedway, Fontana. So, I want to bring your attention to something pretty cool. JPM, Juan Pablo Montoya, has led every step of the way this year. As far as complete champions, Bourdais, Hornish Jr., Johnny Rutherford, Al Unser, and AJ Foyt, only 5 since 1956, have led the entire way. Can JPM, Juan Pablo Montoya, do that? Well, you wouldn't be surprised, because he's just that kind of driver, he's that kind of guy, and he's had that kind of career. Are you ready to get things going? Sure, let's do it.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome President of Iowa Corn Promotion Board, Chris Edgington, to give the command.
Drivers, start your Iowa Corn ethanol-powered engines!
Now there's a man who's passionate about his product and his company.
Can't fault him. I mean, we're in corn country, but these guys are going to battle tonight. You can see everybody's so focused. It is a war in front of these guys. Long way to go to do 300 laps here, Paul.
I tell you what, there's going to be a heck of a first corner. I look for CANAL. Watch him go rodeo style and make a move on the outside. I think he's going to want to assert himself like he did last year, get it in the lead, and control the pace.
There's something about this track and Tony Kanaan. Now, mind you, the pole sitter, Helio Castro-Neves, has had a very good history here as well, but nobody has led more laps than TK, Tony Kanaan. This place just suits Tony's driving style, and he knows, there he is right there. He just knows how to get in the groove right from the word go. He led both practice sessions and was incredibly quick. He just got pipped by Helio Castro-Neves for the P1 pole award. We need to remind you not to miss a chance on getting in on Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by entering at shophonda.com. Tonight's lucky winner, taking the ride along there with Connor Daly on the right-hand side, is Kathy Ramsey from Athens, Alabama. How is it, Kathy? I think we found out.
Oh my God! I gotta get me one of these.
Well, we wish you all the best. We'll put you in contact with someone at Honda, and maybe they can help you out. And remember what Paul Tracy told you, just keep smiling, all right? Keep breathing, keep smiling. And a reminder that Kathy was able to do that by going to shophonda.com to get the opportunity of starting a Verizon IndyCar Series race. And again, Connor Daly, who did 5 or 6 races this year and is doing some sports car racing as well, he is leading the field. All right, let's walk you through. We're going to bring you some pretty cool camera angles tonight. Ryan Briscoe, who's been in the thick of it lately, with thanks to Lucas Oil, will give us this view aboard his Schmidt-Peterson Honda. Tony Kanaan sitting on the front row with thanks to NTT Data will have this view, and you can see the sun there making an impact, having an impact, but that won't last for too much longer. MyJack Products gives us this view aboard the number 15 Steak and Shake MyJack entry for Graham Rahal, championship contender. He is just 1 point out of the top 3. Let's see what he can do. And can this man here, Ryan Hunter-Reay, get his 3rd victory in 4 years here? He's won 2 of the last 3, and Verizon gives us this view for RHR. The Novolog Flex Pen car is this one here, part of Chip Ganassi's squad, and it's Charlie Kimball, who is the pilot of the 83, ready to do work and perhaps ready to eclipse his best result of the year of 3rd at the Indianapolis 500. We'll see what Charlie and his crew can do tonight. And our Verizon streaming car, it is the number 20 Chevrolet of Ed Carpenter from CFH Racing. It's adrenaline on demand. Download the IndyCar 15 mobile app to get amazing live streams from in-car cameras and a whole lot more. You know where? It's only from Verizon. So, 1 lap to go. We will pack up, grid up, and go racing. And as Townsend and Paul said a little earlier, 300 laps around here. Sure, it might not be the biggest speedway in America, but this is hard work. And the pace is fast. To give you an idea, qualifying just over 17 seconds, just over 180 miles an hour.
Yeah, and that track temperature in the lower left-hand corner of your screen is going to be a big deal as the sun goes down. It's going to cool. Cars will go faster.
Championship contender Elio Castro-Neves is on the pole, and he's keen to get going. Kanan is on the outside.
Make a move and said, I'm out of here, and the starter wasn't having it.
And we saw that at Milwaukee. If you remember, on a restart, they wouldn't throw the green when Bourdais got an early jump. So the race control at IndyCar having none of the early enthusiasm.
Well, listen, one of the members of race control in the Verizon IndyCar Series is Jim Swintel, who was a starter for many years himself. Let's see if we can do it this down. Newgarden on the inside, right
Back on the wall, and I think it's Montoya.
It is. The championship leader is out.
Oh.
Juan Pablo Montoya, who has had almost the perfect season to date, finally has something go wrong.
Oh, wow. Suspension broke, and he's got to hustle out of there. There's a decent little oil fire there on the right-hand side. Interesting.
This changes everything from now with 4 races to go.
And a double points paying race at the end. People remarked on his consistency. Not necessarily luck, just the amazing run that JPM had this year. Perhaps it's the law of averages. Something had to happen at some time, and it has for the Indy 500 winner in a big style.
Well, we'll have to see if we have a replay of this. I trust the instinct of Montoya that his suspension broke, and we're watching top corner of your screen. Yeah.
The car just took off straight, almost like you would see a NASCAR cut a tire down. He was right in the center of the corner, and the car just went straight on him.
And you can see the sparks.
Yeah, you can see the sparks. It's on the ground. Something broke. Montoya telling what happened. That's devastating.
And that was right at the exit of turn 2. We're on board with Hunter-Reay. Let's watch ahead.
That is a hard hit.
I wonder if the bump in between 1 and 2 might have been the tipping point for whatever failure that he had, because that's, a lot of vertical load as the car settles through there. 2
years in a row, his only 2 appearances at Iowa Speedway have both ended in the same fashion. That is, in the wall and out of the race.
And I'll tell you one thing, guys. There is no cars in the paddock that are prepared better than the Penske cars, so this could become an issue.
And 2 years in a row for Montoya. This was last year. Montoya trying to look up the inside of Ed Carpenter. Hard into the fence there. Jan?
Sebastian Bourdais coming in to get his service as well. We watch. And in the meantime, I'd also checked in with Brian Campy, who is the engineer for Juan Pablo Montoya. They say that the data does not come in quickly enough to know what broke on the car. They may have that information afterwards, but for now they say the tire was up, but something definitely went wrong up front.
Folks, this is huge. This is huge. Championship leader. We told you at the top of the show, he's led every step of the way. Juan Pablo Montoya out of the race. He has completed all but 1 lap this season. It has been incredible. Of 1,557 laps, he's completed 1,556 before the green flew today. Montoya, the points leader, out. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Iowa Corn. Our state, our fields, our ethanol. And by Steak and Shake, home of the original steak burger, proud sponsor of the number 15 and Graham Rahal. NBCSN's live coverage of the Verizon IndyCar Series. We welcome you back to the Iowa Corn 300. And boy, what a start and what a championship turning point. Juan Pablo Montoya, the points leader, is out of the race. Robin Miller is with him.
First of all, you all right?
Yeah, a little bruise in my hand, but it's not a big deal. Just disappointing. Verizon Chevy got a good car. It's a little loose the first couple laps. I just really taking it easy and buying my time, and
It looked like Townsend and Paul said, it looked like a right front in NASCAR, and it went straight right. No warning?
No, something broke. I mean, as soon as I loaded up, something gave up. I don't want to say anything until I know what happened.
The bump, is the bump probably the culprit, or?
No, I was running high. It was way before the bump. So as soon as I put wheel on it, it loaded up and the car just went right.
You know, you figure during the season you're going to have 1 or 2 bad races, but this is the first time you've had any hiccup all year.
Yeah, it sucks when it's completely out of our hands, you know, when something fails. Be good to know what happened.
We're glad you're all right. Kevin?
Graham Rahal hasn't been able to make a whole lot of ground up at this point, but he did dodge one. He hit some debris, and he was afraid that he had an issue after that crash.
I'm getting the car working pretty good up high in 1, 2, 3, 4. Car's a bit loose, following, kind of what I expected. It's just with guys all spread out, it's hard.
And he hit something, and he was afraid he was going to lose tire pressure in the right front. They checked it, everything's okay, so they stayed out. He also said, I think when the sun goes down, that's going to play to our advantage, so don't totally count out Graham Rahal yet.
Starting in 17th, and you may remember Fontana is exactly where he started and went to the top of the podium. There's going to be significant championship swing here points-wise with Montoya out. He will get 6 points for finishing in 24th position. For Scott Dixon, there's 52 points on offer because there's 53 in a full weekend. Castro Neves got the bonus point for pole. There's 52 for Dixon if he can maximize. However, he will not be able to get enough to jump into the lead of the championship. Juan Pablo Montoya will still leave Iowa tonight as the Verizon IndyCar Series points leader, heading to Mid-Ohio in a couple of weeks' time. Wow, what a turning point. This is dramatic. This is the time when people like Scott Dixon, Helio Castro Neves have to capitalize.
Well, and I wonder if it changes at all the dynamic between Tony Kanaan and Scott Dixon. Coming into this race, it was all about Kanaan trying to help Dixon win the championship. With a massive point swing with Montoya out, does Kanaan start to think to himself, hey, I might actually have an outside chance?
Well, here comes Bourdais. He's going to top up again, it looks like, go on a completely different strategy to everybody. Jan?
Yes, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to take the opportunity, as long as they don't have the track position, to go ahead and just top off, be full of fuel. It just gives you more options. So you stay, you maintain basically your same position, you have more fuel. It doesn't mean he necessarily is going to go farther. It means on his next stop, he won't have to stay here as long for fuel.
Now going back to Kanaan and Dixon, you would hate to see team tactics and things manipulating a win. I think Kanaan's going to go for it tonight. He's desperate for a win so far this year.
And it was interesting to see the honesty, and I won't name names, but the guys at KVSH Racing having a little laugh with themselves and saying, it may not have been outstanding strategy at Milwaukee. We may have had a little bit of luck on our side, but we'll take it. At the end of the day, Bourdais drove unbelievably as we take a look at our Iowa Corn biggest movers in the early stages of this race, and Justin Wilson leaping 6 places early on to put himself up into 12th. And you know what? If Andretti can turn around tonight and make a result, make something good about this, don't discount Justin Wilson.
I don't think you can discount Justin Wilson at any racetrack on the IndyCar schedule. One of the more experienced drivers, and he always seems to find a way to race his way to the front when he's given a chance. It's nice to see him get the opportunity to finish off the season with Andretti, and I'm sure they're appreciative of everything he brings to the table through all those years.
Just giving you an idea of who's got what as far as onboard cameras and the views and the various views that we can supply you here at Iowa Speedway. This guy here, Ed Carpenter, is carrying our Verizon streaming camera. He really wants to make some big work and some big moves tonight. He wants a decent result. Ed Carpenter is extremely frustrated with season 2015 thus far. Ready to crank it up. Here we go. Iowa's a rookie, and the yellow one immediately behind is Marco.
Oh!
Simon Pagenaud,
Coletti.
there's a crash. Coletti ducks and dives. He goes to the inside.
That was almost a massive, massive crash. Coletti got into it with somebody coming off of turn 2. He had the big death wiggle going on.
He's not missing
He
any
saved
parts, but there was there's certainly somebody's missing something, because there was parts flying. They were really close to the wall coming off.
Who hit
and there's somebody's rear bumper, it looks like, but
Kimball, front left.
yeah.
This will decipher it a little bit. Look to the right of your screen. Look to the right and look up high. Kimball and Rahal and Coletti.
And there's just not enough room, Lee, because Coletti was washing up high. Kimball had nowhere to go, had to move up, and Graham was working the outside. On board with Graham Rahal.
That was pretty much an empty hole. Graham just swept around the outside and closed that hole off, and before Kimball knew it, he was there.
And And look at how quickly this happened, just like that. And you know what Graham Rahal has told us in the past, and I want to think back to Fontana, if I see a gap, I'm going for it.
Well, he had every right to go for that. He had a big run going, and you can't plan for what might happen down below you. I think his car's okay. It didn't look like there was any heavy contact.
So, full course caution number 2, and we can say that this is just the worst of it. Debris on track. No major incident. However, it does impact Charlie Kimball, the 83 Novo Nordisk Novolog car. Will have to come in for a new front wing assembly.
Be interesting to see if more guys take this strategy. You know, for sure, Bourdais being last in line will come in again. Why not?
Look at this, look at this.
Oh. Looking at Simon Pagenaud, he got really loose coming out of turn 4.
That was Carlos Munoz just clipping his.
On board with Charlie Kimball.
Watch the walls close in.
We're strong on the outside, outside.
Well, he got the information, but it was too late to do anything.
Okay? Wing.
That's the voice of Barry Waddell, long-time spotter in the Verizon IndyCar Series and driver coach. Been around open wheel racing for a long, long time. And immediately saying to Charlie, you okay? All right? Well, he is, but his car and his front wing is not. How about our Verizon P1 pole sitter, Helio Castro Neves, third at the moment, trailing Canaan and Dixon in the early stages of the Iowa Corn 300. Quick reminder that you can watch tonight's IndyCar race online at NBCSports.com on mobile and tablets with NBC Sports Live Extra. Isn't that a beautiful shot? It's been pretty hot and humid here in the heartland, I have to tell you, but tonight it's cooling off and it's a beautiful evening to go racing. And this guy here, Tony Kanaan, an Indy 500 winner, an IndyCar Series champion, a veteran in the sport, has the eyes on. Just look how close he's following the Chevrolet pace car.
If he gets any closer, he's going to put his nose into one of those quad exhaust tips.
Always thinking he's trying to save that little bit of extra bit of fuel, draft off the pace car in front of him, and that's what you do when you're a veteran. You're always thinking ahead of the game, right?
He's ready to go. He's ready to go, and so too is this guy who features in our Chevrolet driver profile this evening. It's Helio Castro Neves in his 18th season in IndyCar. Just think about the frustration factor for the dancing man. He wants a championship. He's got 3 Indy 500s, but he wants a championship. Look at that stat there, third row down. Second 4 times. He can leave this sport with a championship. If he can leave with a championship, it will be career complete. He's such a happy, positive guy. He's great to be around. He's a lot of fun to be around.
Well, Townsend, that's why we're sitting up here.
Well, you took all the money. I don't think there's any money left in this sport.
Canaan, Dixon, Castro Neves, Newgarden, Power 5th, Andretti, Hunter Ray, Sage Karam, the rookie in 8th, Justin Wilson and Graham Rahal has come from 17th to 10th. Second biggest mover in this race. Look at Castro Neves there.
He sure looks like he's going to have a chance here to get a wheel under Dixon as he exits the corner. That's what it's going to take to get by.
And the leader in this series is out of the race. Just a spectacular evening here in Iowa, in America's heartland for the Iowa Corn 300. One of our series contenders, Graham Rahal, has just been dealt a pretty devastating blow. The Fontana winner was forced to come in with a tire going down, and he has lost 2 laps. He has fallen to 22nd position and now begins a massive catch-up. I can only think that this was from that debris that he collected a little earlier. It was a slow puncture, and he was forced to make a green flag stop.
Absolutely, just an unscheduled pit stop here. We now know will cost you 2 laps, but as we see now he's on fresh tires. He can fight his way back through, but he's going to need a lot of luck to get his laps back.
He might be all right, guys, in that lap 60, if he makes that pit stop, if it stays green, your leaders are going to have to pit under green. Might be able to recover. We'll have to see.
Time for an Iowa Corn through the field, and Kevin Lee gets us going. Kev?
And Lee, it's standard operating procedure for Tony Kanaan here in Iowa. He has led more than 500 laps now in the 9 races at through this track. 6 times he's been dominant, podium the last 3 years, and he felt like he had just as good of a chance to be stout here in this one today, Jan.
And for Scott Dixon, you saw a few moments ago, he was trying to challenge Tony Kanaan, not because he necessarily wanted the lead, but he doesn't really like his car in the dirty air. Townsend and Paul were talking about how dirty the air is right now. He is searching it, and Castroneves is pushing.
Elio Castroneves is one of the most animated drivers in the IndyCar Series. He says when he's in traffic, he's singing the Wiggle song, but by the end of the day, he hopes to be singing "We Are the Champions." He's been quiet on the radio so far.
We'll keep an eye on this battle here. This is a battle for second position rather, and Castroneves moves up to second, so Dixon in third, and then we find Joseph Newgarden running in the 4th position. He picked up 3 positions right from the start. A great start for him. He thought the car...
He has been searching this weekend for balance all the way through the corner. You can see there's quite a gap between himself. Now we see him, and he's getting some pressure from behind from Ryan Hunter-Reay. Again, each part of the corner, the car doesn't react exactly the same way that he would like. Now, for Ryan Hunter-Reay, we talked about how the Andretti cars, and look at this on new tires. This, of course, is not for position. This is Graham Rahal on fresher rubber, showing you the difference between the two. Ryan Hunter-Reay maintains his position in 6th. Again, they're hoping that when the tires wear, their cars are better. Now, for Marco Andretti, similar strategy. He was very aggressive on the initial start. You may have seen him. He got washed high. He was kicking up dust, and he lost some of those positions. Now hoping to make those back, Kevin.
Sage Karam is off to a nice start. He's picked up a couple of spots. He's running an 8th there in the red and black car. Keep in mind, this is a young man that graduated high school just a little over a year ago. He said that 5th place run at Fontana gave him all kinds of confidence that he could run up front with the big boys.
Carlos Munoz is part of the hunted team of Andretti Autosport. His team came over the radio reminding him to go opposite of the car in front of him. He started 12th and has now worked his way up to 9th.
Justin Wilson, we spoke earlier about how he really wants to look at the difference in line there. Carlos Munoz was low, and we see that he's high. The reason he's running the high line, his car is a little bit loose. And Paul, you certainly know that when your car is loose, if you run high, hopefully you can keep the car underneath you.
Yeah, Jan, you know, this is still the first stint for these guys. Plenty of opportunity. We're going to see four pit stops with 71 laps into 300. So lots of time, Townsend, to get these cars dialed in.
Yep, and while we were doing the through the field, we saw Elio Castroneves just blow by on the low side of Tony Kanaan.
Ed Carpenter in the Fuzzy Chevrolet is in for CFH Racing as we race lap 72 of 300. Almost, that's how quick it goes here in Iowa, almost 3rd race distance. It's been fast, it's been interesting. This young rookie is one to watch for the future. Sage Karam, he is a brave young driver doing a good job for Chip Ganassi Racing.
And he's been trying to limit mistakes, and that's what he's been doing since he had a little chat with IndyCar officials and also some of his teammates around Texas. He's actually been spending some more time back in Nazareth trying to remember what it was like when he was having fun racing as a kid. You see a front wing adjustment there. So far, so good for Sage Karam back out with tires and fuel.
His dad, Jody, who is a health and physical education teacher, health and fitness is a big part of the family life. He said, yep, Sage called me and said, I'm going to come back home for a little bit. Remember, get back into the groove on how we got to where we are.
Green flag pit stops, you've seen many of them on our nonstop coverage. Here is the current leader, Tony Kanaan, coming in. He's dominated this race before his teammate Scott Dixon got around him. Dixon came in just 1 lap earlier, so Kanaan getting slightly better fuel mileage. This took maybe a little bit longer on the front lip, but not a bad stop for Tony Kanaan.
Marco Andretti getting serviced in the Snapple entry, and you heard Kevin talk about Scott Dixon coming in and getting serviced. There was a slight delay on the air jack, and that will have cost him.
Well, he dropped the car before the rear wheel nut was on, and then once it dropped, he couldn't get the wheel nut on and had to raise it back up. So that cost a couple seconds, and here that is an eternity.
Power and Pagano in for Team Penske.
And these are the kind of opportunities. They know that Scott Dixon had a delay on pit road, so they're hoping that they don't have any kind of miscues and they can make up for that deficit. The fuel flows very quickly. Yes, Power, you can see how quickly they disconnected that. Both picture-perfect stops for both Pagano and Will Power.
So let's go back up the front as we wait for the likes of James Jakes as he heads the field at the moment on this opening pit stop rotation. Bourdais, Hawksworth, Kimball, Chavez. Then we're going to keep an eye out for Elio Castroneves. Elio is down there in 6th position on this rotation. but effectively the guy who's up the front.
Day to stay high, and when he chopped down low, Dixon shot straight up the track. Watch Dixon try to force his way by.
Yeah, he was driving kind of like a road course line. He entered high and dropped right down to the bottom of the track. And I think that Dixon thought he was going to stay high, and he's using all of the track because he's on worn tires.
That was the voice of Jimmy Vasser, enthusiastically coaching Bourdais to the pit lane.
So that will leave Charlie Kimball out there, and Charlie was on the same rotation as Sebastian Bourdais, last pitting on lap 29. Here comes Bourdais, Jan.
Yes, and he's going to lose between 1 3/4 and 2 laps. So we keep looking at the action on the right side of the screen while we see hopefully a nice quick stop. Now he shouldn't need very much fuel because he obviously topped out twice, but that took a while. That was 8.2 seconds. I would have thought he could be a little bit faster after making those earlier stops.
Enjoying a ride there aboard the Novo Nordisk car for Chip Ganassi Racing with now race leader Charlie Kimball. Ryan Briscoe, who at one stage was the biggest mover in this race. Charlie Kimball comes to pit lane. Briscoe got off to a very good start for, say, the first 75 laps. Coming your way, Kev.
And he was able to stay out longer because, remember, he took contact, so they had to change the front wing on lap 29. So off sequence, that's when things get fun. And everybody's on different types of strategies and different life on the tires. Sunoco Fuel, 4 Firestones. Charlie Kimball will take a front wing adjustment as well and he's back out. Jan?
Yes, and Gabby Chavez is also taking the opportunity to get some Firestones and Sunoco. This is a big eye-opener. He has run here in Iowa in Indy Lights, but this is his first time in an IndyCar, and he said, wow, this is a big difference when you're almost 5 Gs in these corners, and he has a bit of he's going to school at the moment getting up to speed.
Talked to Brian Herta at the airport on the way out here, and he told me that Gabby Chavez is the best driver they've had on his team since Dan Weldon.
And they want him back next year. They're going to do everything to get this young guy back next year. Not only because he's that good, but they want consistency. They keep having one driver years, you know, and that doesn't build consistency within the team. They love this young guy, and they want him back in 2016.
We'll watch Newgarden here. He has closed the gap on Castro Neves. He's been right there, a tenth, 2/10 of a second behind, and stalking to make a move.
Remember when you got your first in?
And James Jakes, and they're desperately trying to stay on the lead lap.
Here we go.
Watch the yellow and black car, the Wink Hardman, the Hartman oil car. Whoa! Thinks about an inside move there on Castro Neves, then thinks twice. Coming up on traffic, Wilson is down in 14th position. He's about to lose a lap.
Look at that, under-over, the crossover, timed perfectly.
For the lead of the race, Newgarden is wheel-to-wheel with Castro Neves.
Now he's stuck with nowhere to go. He's got cars high, low.
They both are.
Castro Neves fighting back on the outside with the draft.
Just over 1/3 race distance. This has been fantastic.
The door just opened. He was able to slide by.
Wilson
3 cars.
in the wall. Justin Wilson got high. He got up into the grey.
That was a lucky break for Newgarden. The door opened up wide open. He's got a flat tire now or damage to the rear toe link.
Probably a right rear toe link, I would guess. The yellow flag's out. There's nothing more scary than hitting the wall but knowing that you're not out, but you've got to continue and see if you can just hang on as the car damaged. And Wilson made about 9 corrections through one corner.
And not get run over by cars going 185 miles an hour.
Why did you hit the wall so hard at Indy last year? Why didn't you just have a nice little glance like that?
Because I...
Here it is again.
Goes in a little high behind Gabby Chavez.
The coin car got loose in front of all of those guys. If we can replay that again.
That's
and it kind of backed everybody up, and Wilson kind of moved up the track, got into gray, and that was it.
That was Pippa Man up ahead, and Paul, you called it. When you go in high here at Iowa, you trust that the clean air you have is going to stay there. And when a
Watch
car
here,
moves up in front of you.
Yeah, the white and blue car gets loose.
Here's Pippa Mann right here. And she gets a little loose. As she moves up the track, it takes the clear air off of Wilson's front wing, and then he's done. He's just a passenger at that point.
And look at Tony Kanaan whipping through on the inside in between Sebastian Bourdais and Justin Wilson. What a shame. Justin Wilson at that point was fighting to stay on the lead lap, but in his Andretti Autosport Honda had been having a strong run.
So that we don't get in the way while everyone else is coming in.
It's the voice of Rob Edwards.
And there's two issues for Justin Wilson now. One is, okay, if it's the toe link, they can make a quick adjustment on pit lane to try to fix that, but that doesn't address whether or not the toe link has fatigue. And Lee, you asked about my crash at Indy. I'd had 2 hits to the toe link, and then it finally let go completely. And that's, you know, that's the 50-50 decision the Andretti guys are going to have to make here once he comes to the pits.
Yeah, the problem you have here with the track being so short, you could change a toe link in Indianapolis under yellow, not cost you a lap. Changing a toe link here, even under yellow, you would probably lose 2 to 3 laps.
And I believe that Iowa is the highest total G loading that the suspension sees here on these Indy cars, so they've got to be careful to make sure it's addressed.
Top 13 on the lead lap, Sebastian Bourdais, last weekend's winner in Milwaukee. The first one a lap down. James Jakes is the last driver on the lead lap. Joseph Newgarden comes to pit road. Paul, you called it, you said, and the door just opened, and he went flying through just before this caution came out. Katie, take it away.
Elio Castroneves knew that this first pit box would be his biggest battle all day. He pitted from the lead last time and felt his team is going to add 4 tires on this pit stop. Kevin?
You see Tony Kanaan on the bottom screen. He's going to hit his spot about the same time that Joseph Newgarden is. He's all the way at the bottom. He has pit out. Newgarden will take 4 tires, a front wing adjustment, barely slight, and he'll just barely beat Elio Castroneves back out. Kanaan will get out third.
Pretty handy piece of driving by Newgarden.
Yeah, that was a tight race off pit road. Castroneves obviously had the quicker stop, but you know, had to pit at the head of the pits. Newgarden is at the other end of the pits.
All right, guys. Paul Tracy, Townsend Bell, veterans, both of you. Veteran is Elio Castroneves, but even after all of these years, how much did that come through the field from last to second do for him last weekend?
Well, I think it's key, but I think Newgarden, now that he's won a race, the floodgates have opened.
Here we go. It's all happening tonight in Iowa. Beautiful evening here in Iowa. We want to take you back to the latest round of stops and take a look at this race off pit road. That's Joseph Newgarden for CFH Racing. Gets it a little sideways on acceleration and just beats Elio Castroneves to the yellow line and out onto the racing surface. 2 times a winner this year. There have been 4 drivers. There are 4 drivers who can boast that record this year, and Joseph Newgarden is one of them. So, as we climb aboard the Andretti Autosport DHL Honda of Ryan Hunter-Ray, you can be part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes by going to shophonda.com and sign up. Enter for your chance to lead the start of a Verizon IndyCar Series race, and most importantly, no purchase is necessary. So, as we talk about Andretti Autosport, let's take you in on some radio communication within the team and within this car.
What was that car doing? Enters at the bottom and just runs up to the middle of the track. Looks like you tagged the wall with the right front man. Yeah, my white wall's it with the right side. I don't know if the right rear is okay.
Justin Wilson not too pleased with Pippa Mann in the team that he used to drive for, saying, what was that coin car doing?
Well, it got a little loose and moved up the track, obviously, and nowhere for Wilson to go.
Here we go. Speaking of going, it's time to go. On a beautiful evening in Iowa in the heartland, let's do it.
Here comes
Newgarden. Whoa, look at Castroneves trying to make outside of his teammate Scott Dixon. They're doing in excess of 180 miles an hour.
He's certainly recovered quickly. He's lost 3 or 4 positions. He's made back them down. He's chased down Newgarden. As we see, he crosses over. He's back on the hunt to get back in the lead.
Last lap, 176 miles an hour.
That's close to qualifying pace.
He's in catch-up mode, but he's making it and doing it very effectively. Castroneves, Newgarden, Kanaan, we ride with Dixon 4th, Hunter-Ray 5th, Munoz, Rahal 7th, from 17 to 7th, Karam, Briscoe and Andretti
And I get the sense that Newgarden is very fan Tony Kanaan, who's charging hard. Look at that. He's all over the map, and that's okay. That's what you do as you get experience in this series. You make it as hard as you can to follow.
Yeah, that they call that mirror driving in NASCAR. They do that at Daytona, places like that. You drive where the other car is at. So the aero is so turbulent with these cars. Now guys are basically picking their line based on where the guy behind is.
And let's look at what happened on this last restart. This is Helio Castroneves. Tony Kanaan is in third. Kanaan is looking up high. He's going to drop down low. That's Kanaan in the black car. And look at Castroneves put a little hockey block there. That's like lowering your shoulder.
And it didn't affect TK as he blasted through on the inside, but then Helio came back. Now check this out. I was telling you about this a few moments ago, about something that will be reviewed after the race, the unsafe release in regards to Ed Carpenter and his CFH Racing Chevrolet.
I don't know, Paul. I don't think that's deserving of anything really. I mean, it's tough to tell who that is coming through turn 4 on the pit lane. But back up front here, on board with Kanaan as Dixon's now working all over the tail of his teammate.
There is a big carrot being dangled in front of this field, most notably Helio Castroneves and Scott Dixon, the two guys who are second and third in this championship. And the reason why, if you've joined us late, Juan Pablo Montoya crashed out of this race after just 9 laps. The championship leader has yet to be headed, but the captain has 3 other guys still in this race, and one of them is the leader. Racing into the night here on your home of motorsport, NBCSN, the Iowa Corn 300. It's round 13 of the Rise in IndyCar Series, and there is a lot at stake here on this little oval in the heartland. There's a lot at stake for Helio Castroneves as well, the race leader, by almost 2 dozen. It doesn't. Whatever I can do to help my teammates, and most notably Juan Pablo Montoya, who's out of this race, win this championship. Let's talk more about the 22 with Katie.
Lee, that's exactly the orders of the 22 in this race. He said they're attacking this weekend as an experiment. So over the radio, the team was asking him to try out the high line to see how that was running. So Helio Castroneves coming around to lap Simon Pagenaud.
And let's keep in mind, Simon Pagenaud, the Frenchman, too, like the rest of the motor racing world, is racing with a heavy heart tonight because Jules Bianchi passing away last night. There's another driver in this field who was very heavily affected by that, and that's Stefano Coletti, driving for KVRT. Stefano Coletti, the man from Monaco, here he is. Grew up just half an hour away from where Jules Bianchi grew up, in Nice, in France. These two raced each other in go-karts, in junior formula, in GP2, and this has been a very difficult period for Stefano Coletti, so of his late friend Jules Bianchi.
And back up front here, look at this. Newgarden inside Castroneves.
That was slick.
What a great...
Oh, you got to get to him. Dude, I'm alongside him and he rolls back out. I know, you just got to stay with it. We're doing everything we can here.
Well, he's every bit as excited in the car as it looks from up here. Wow, that's 18 years old for you.
I know somebody that used to be like that.
Is he sitting in between you and I?
Yeah.
Look at Ryan Briscoe. He's making a nice move. He's running up there in the 9th position. We go on board with Ed Carpenter, who's looking at Briscoe in 10th. Here comes Carpenter, one side to the other. The fuzzy Chevrolet goes to the inside. Briscoe's not going to give that position up. 2 races in a row, Briscoe's been in a prominent position, only to see it disappear with crashes. He's going to get to the line tonight with a good result.
Ryan Briscoe, when he went out to qualify earlier today, that was the first time he'd been in any kind of qualifying trim, so he didn't expect a whole lot, but he thought the race car was going to be okay. He told me, actually, this has gone a little better than I expected it to. He's been racing every week. The last 2 races, you could argue that he had the best car, and he has proved again that he's likely deserving as we see a yellow, and Kimball goes around. Charlie Kimball around brings out a yellow.
He looks like he slapped the wall outside right.
I was just about to say that this is the longest green flag run that we've seen, and the lap times were starting to come down as guys were struggling with grip. And unfortunately for Charlie Kimball, we'll have to see what happened, but I'm sure it was a handful for him.
And you can see the big deep breaths he's taking, how much work you're doing in the car. You can see his chest going in and out. He's up on the high side here, car in front, turbulent air into the gray, slaps the wall, and then obviously it turned around on him.
Oof. Who was that who dived to the inside to take evasive action? Might have been Justin Wilson. Who was it? What? Look to the left here. Look to the left.
Whoa.
Woo. That's actually Tristan Vautier, I think, for Dale Coyne Racing.
So now, obviously, Townsend, the upper high groove is getting, you know, some marble, some rubber up there. Will probably be a good opportunity, I would assume, for the guys to do a sweeper or a blow and try to clean it up, open up that groove up there a little bit more.
Nice to see Charlie Kimball's okay. And if you're driving around under yellow right now, still in this race, you're going to study where the sweepers go, how much they sweep, because on the restart, if it's clean up high, you'll see guys like a Marco Andretti.
Like Graham.
Like Graham.
Like Graham.
And they'll take every bit of advantage of a clean racetrack on the high groove.
So Charlie Kimball, that is, was making some pretty good progress, made up 4 positions until that crash into the wall, and he joins Juan Pablo Montoya and Pippa Mann as retirements in this Iowa Corn 300. Yes, you heard me right. Montoya out on lap 9. Something broke on the right-hand side of the car, sent him up into the wall at high speed. He is okay. However, his championship lead will be drastically reduced when we wave the checkered flag on this one tonight. And that sets up for a fascinating final 3 races to the undulating Mid-Ohio sports car course, onto that very unique super speedway in Pocono, and then finishing off in wine country. What a way to end this season.
Oh, it's a terrific run to the...
Seems odd to say, Team Penske has never won at Iowa Speedway, and although Helio Castroneves has 3 poles this season, he's yet to win, so they're going to fill it up with Sunoco fuel for a clean start for Helio Castroneves. Kevin?
Kanon's at the bottom of the triple box. He has the 4th pit location. There he ducks in. Further ahead, the pit out location is Joseph Newgarden. Newgarden comes in as the leader. The last time he was able to beat Castroneves, who's already finished and is making the long drive down at 50 miles an hour. Half a wing of front, half a turn of front wing in for Newgarden. He will beat out Castroneves. Then it's Kanon in 3rd. Ryan Hunter-Reay comes out 4th, and then a whole gaggle of cars together.
And the most interesting thing you said there, Kev, I think, oh, what's happened here to Rahal?
Stalled it.
All that work, and now to go to the back of the field.
He's been talking about gearbox problems for a while. He's had trouble shifting, and I heard him before he came in saying, I can't get it into the gear, so I don't know that for certain, but that's a good guess.
I can see him looking at his steering wheel dash display, and something is going on that's maybe an electronic issue. It looks like maybe they put a new steering wheel on, or they're going to try to.
Looks like they can't get the steering wheel off of the steering shaft.
Well, he came in very slow. You see him already waving his hand.
He's pretty animated in the car, like he knows he has an issue. He's shaking his head. Maybe he couldn't get it into first gear.
Yeah, or get it into neutral, and he was in gear the whole time during the pit stop, but not in first gear. It looked like he tried to leave, and it was probably in 2nd gear or 3rd. You know, you can't get it going. There's no wheel spin there. Usually what you do if you have a gearbox problem, the first remedy is to change the steering wheel if there's an issue with the paddles.
Well, let's go back. Let's show you a replay. Let's go on board with Graham Rahal. We'll crank the audio a little bit and have a listen to what happened to the MyJack number 15. All that good work. Remember the stories. Let's have a listen.
3, 2, 1. Help it. Guys, are we spraying anything up? Clutch it, clutch it, clutch it, clutch it, clutch it.
It seems as though he was just in gear during the pit stop, and
troubles at the Ganassi camp for Scott Dixon. Take a look at this. Remember that problem on the right rear earlier?
Not too bad. A little slow on the right front, but they had to get a wing change in, but that wasn't horrible.
Boy, the twists and turns in this race at the less than 1 mile Iowa Speedway. It has been a spectacular evening, and the best part about it is we've still got more than 100 laps to run. Could you get a more beautiful picture? Just stunning. The weather has been spectacular here in the heartland. It has been hot and humid, as you'd expect in the summertime, but it's cooled off considerably, and it's a lovely evening to go racing. It has been a hot, hard works night for this man, Graham Rahal, who unfortunately just got beaten to the line by the Corvette pace car. And this will show you another view here.
Yeah, and this is the blend line, which basically goes right up through pit lane across the racetrack. And that's, you know, every second counts under green. It does under difficult circumstances too.
So he plays catch up again. He's won.
But you got to be careful. You got to get to the end of the race to capitalize on the misfortune of Montoya. You know, running like this side by side, you could.
I'm fine, bud. Time to pick it back up.
There's Roger Penske, the captain, the legend.
Just goes to show you the track position, Townsend, is so important. When he was out front, clean air, he's been good. As soon as he got swarmed by those cars, he just started dropping like a stone.
Yellow is out, turn 2, what's happened? Oh, that's Stefano Coletti. Stefano Coletti up against the inside wall. Did he hit the outside then come back down? On this emotionally charged weekend for Stefano Coletti, it comes to an end this way. There is some conjecture on whether we will see Coletti back in the Verizon IndyCar Series for the remainder of the year. We'll have to wait and find out. And for the star of the show at this track, Tony Kanaan, who just loves this place and is electrifying here, is going no further. We can show you what happened to the Monaco driver, Stefano Coletti. Here it is.
Just gets loose there. The middle of turn 2, tries to save it, stays off the brake pedal to keep the tires rolling, but then he has to jump onto the brakes because he's not going to be able to get it turned straight again, Paul.
Yeah, he's just sliding, big drift, and comes down the track, can't get it stopped. Not too big of an impact, but you know, obviously enough to put him out of the race, and he's been struggling all night. He had early contact, and ever since then he's been struggling with handling.
First year in the Verizon IndyCar Series, and for a very talented driver, it's been a huge, very steep learning curve. Never raced on ovals before, and it's a whole different beast, particularly for the different size of ovals, the different speed, the characteristics, all of the variety that the Verizon IndyCar Series has to offer. So Coletti joins Montoya, Mann, Kimball, and our most recent retiree, Tony Kanaan. So now it's 5 out of this race, the Iowa Corn 300. Everybody okay. Most serious crash was that suffered by Juan Pablo Montoya, but he's okay. There's Tony Kanaan, and the veteran not pleased. And you can understand why, because he felt he had a winning race car. He wanted this one. He was denied it last year in the most gut-wrenching way in the final 2 laps. Kanaan is out. So we've had a little bit of everything here in Iowa tonight, haven't we? And just quietly going about his business, it's Joseph Newgarden out in front.
Yeah, and before you know it, you've got Ryan Hunter-Reay, who's worked his way into the top 2.
Need to squeeze in a quick break. When we come back, we'll be at lap 200 of this 300-lapper. See you in a moment. Quick reminder that the Tour de France continues tomorrow morning at 8 Eastern on NBCSN. The fight for the green jersey is on. If you haven't caught this yet on NBCSN, you're a little late. However, it is spectacular footage, and the primetime coverage begins of the Tour tomorrow at night at 8 Eastern right here on NBCSN. Let's check in with Kevin.
No driver has won 3 times this season. Joseph Newgarden has that chance tonight. One of the co-owners, Sarah Fisher, is here. He's been running up front all night. What's he been saying about the car? How good is it?
It's pretty good. You don't get that very often, so we're just sitting here trying to help him as all we can.
All right, fingers crossed. Long way to go in this one, Jan.
And we asked to talk to Michael Andretti, but he said, you know, I need to coach him We know we're going green here. He's working with the spotters, but obviously for Andretti Autosport, they know this is a great opportunity as the day. Each pit stop, they've been taking front wing out, and now the car's getting faster and faster for Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Our Chevy update gives us a look at the top Chevy drivers in tonight's race thus far. And looking pretty good there, isn't it? Nice and solid in the top 10, and of course the lead car. A look from the grandstand. Here we go. If you were sitting in the stands, this is the view that you would get here at Iowa Speedway, and you'd see there that Sage Karam take off from Ed Carpenter, and Ed Carpenter's now falling into the clutches of Helio Castroneves and Marco Andretti.
And not for long, because I think Carpenter just got surprised there by the dirty air. If Newgarden's car is good, there's a good chance that Ed Carpenter has just as capable a car, and he's been coming strong tonight.
See, Marco's been complaining about the turbulence. He's having a hard time getting by Gavin Chavez. Finally clears him, but he's lost quite a bit of distance to the guys in front of him.
Haven't seen much of him, but let's give a shout out to Frenchman Tristan Vautier, who is on the lead lap in his Dale Coyne car. Look at these two guys go wheel to wheel. This is on the inside, is Sage Karam. On the high side, in the white, green and black Andretti Autosport Honda, is coming that calmly when he spoke about you.
You got to stir it up, don't you, man?
Famous names in American open wheel racing, Andretti and Rahal. Marco trying to do something good for the Andrettis. Ryan Hunter-Reay trying to do the same. Graham Rahal trying to get back on the lead lap. Racing into the night here on your home of motorsport, the Verizon IndyCar Series and the Iowa Corn 300. What a night we've had here in the Heartland, and it is far from over. We're approaching the final stops, and look at this, troubles for one of the championship contenders. We've already seen Juan Pablo Montoya bounced out of this race. Now the second man in the championship, Scott Dixon. What's wrong with the 9?
Looks like he's hit something. The rear end of the car is wiggling around. He might have brushed the wall. So looks like there's, didn't see any visible damage, but the car is definitely moving around.
Oh boy, this is music to the ears of Helio Castroneves. Third in the championship, and he has seen significant problems for the two guys ahead of him in the points race.
Forget about music for the ears of Castroneves. Now Juan Montoya has now got a 45-point lead again. So think about what Montoya is thinking, as he's probably flying home right now in his private jet.
Jan?
The crew is going to try and get a look at the car. In fact, his engineer, Chris Simmons, has come off of the timing stand to look to see if he can spot any damage. He's checking out the right rear. Now the mechanics are pointing. They see something. They see something on the right, and yet they send him. Oh, there's a definite problem. There are pieces coming out from the inside. I think it has something to do with the upright inside. There's a seal, a burning rubber seal that just came out of the back.
And you saw the sign, the universal sign, shut it down, shut it off.
I think they burned up a bearing, Paul?
I don't know, maybe a CV joint or half shaft broken, because it looked like the car didn't want to take off at all. But you know, this track, there's such high loads here. We saw Montoya's suspension fail, and now we've got a failure in the rear of Dixon's car.
3 of the 4 Ganassi cars have struck problems tonight. Tony Kanaan out, Charlie Kimball crashed out, Scott Dixon idle on pit lane, and that has left all the responsibility up to a 20-year-old American rookie, Sage Karam, who runs 4th in this race. And things aren't looking good in Dixon's camp. Here's the young man from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. IndyCar Lights champ, Indy Lights champ 2 years ago. This is what happened to his teammate Charlie Kimball. Poof, into the wall. That was the end of Charlie's night. Tony Kanaan. Problems, mechanical, electrical, something wrong with the 10 car, and Dixon the latest to run into dramas. 3 out of the 4 for Chip Ganassi's guys. It has not been a pleasant night in the Heartland. However, it is for this guy. Not afraid of anything. He's mixed it up right from the get-go. And Karam maintains a terrific spot in second. Look at him here, racing with Carlos Munoz.
Tell you what, Carlos has been strong all night. We haven't talked about him a lot, but he's been solid right now running in third. We see Hunter-Reay in the pits, possibly his last stop.
And Paul, you say possibly his last stop. He is inside the window, so for Ryan Hunter-Reay, this will be his last time on pit road. As you can see, he has new sticker Firestones, and you also notice that they're wheeling the car with Scott Dixon in the car. I looked, and it is inside the upright, so it appears as though it's either a bearing or a half shaft. There was a lot of grease that was coming out of that right rear upright. Of course, that's what drives the right rear. Because of championship points, they're going to try and fix that, but if they don't have it done with 20 laps to go, they won't let them back on the track.
Run, 58 laps to run, riding on board with Ryan Briscoe. Briscoe runs in 7th. Keep in mind where Ryan started way down in the field. This has been quite the drive. He's made up 12 positions from his starting spot. None better though than Sebastian Bourdais, last weekend's winner. And looking at it from the inside out, it's a terrific program. The students find it incredibly valuable. It gives Wink Hartman a feel-good factor as well, and they'll feel extra good if their man can drive to the top of the podium. Troubles for the second place guy in the championship, Scott Dixon, but Ganassi is not giving up. I find myself more often than not saying, can you believe what we're seeing? And here we go. In the dying moments of this race, there is a caution. Takuma Sato clouded the wall and has brought out a late race caution with just over 35 laps to go. And Graham Rahal had just cycled to the top, Kev. This could work out nicely for Graham at this stage of the race.
Minimum at least is going to get him back onto lead lap. They came in and topped off, so they were hoping for a yellow. Now keep in mind, he's been having shifting issues.
Guys, press close and bear on the back of this thing. Press close and bear on the back of this thing. Blow air on the back of the GCU.
Oh.
Just try to go, guys. Drop the car on the ground and let's just try to go. It won't go if you're not on the ground.
And GCU is Gearbox Control Unit. That's what they're trying to cool.
And as long as he gets off pit lane like he did there, then he should be okay. He's good to go to the end. He's made up that lap, as Kevin said. He is going to be at the tail end of the leaders, but he's on fresh rubber, and he'll be a hard-charging bull.
I'm surprised that not more guys came and took tires. Like if I was Bourdais, Carpenter, Power, Andretti, I would come get fresh rubber.
Well, they still have a chance.
Yeah.
They still have a chance. The sweepers are out. This could take several laps, and they might just wait until the last opportunity before the restart.
This is what happened to Takuma Sato. Look up there, right at the point where Juan Pablo Montoya went in as well. And
that was very similar to Juan Pablo. Suspension failure is what he said on the radio. The car went straight in. Big hit. This is a tough, tough track to tame.
Massive G-forces, G-loads in this section of the track, as Marco Andretti is the latest to come to pit road. And Jan, he's been having a nice run in the top 10 tonight. He's a little frustrated, but the car's been good.
He has. You just heard the discussion about front wing, but remember at the last race that we had, well, 2 races ago in Fontana, he took tires with a lap and a half to go and said he almost won that race. So now he's going to be charging through. The big difference here is there's only a few people who stopped, meaning he has a lot more cars to race through.
It's all setting up. It's setting up beautifully for a 30-lap sprint here in the Iowa Corn 300. Don't go anywhere. Takuma Sato's car being rescued, track being cleaned, as we welcome you back to the Iowa Corn 300. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Katie Hargett, Jan Beekes, Kevin Lee, Robin Miller. The crew on patrol tonight here in the Heartland, and promising signs for Chip Ganassi fans and Scott Dixon fans. You know, this team just will not give up, and whether it's the immense IndyCar history, NASCAR history, or sports car history, the crew just worked flat out to get that car back out. Big news on the day as we take you through the race recap. Juan Pablo Montoya crashing out on lap 9, and that was the end of his day. Let's scoot ahead to lap 24 and take a look at this. Some frantic action here, and Charlie Kimball was the man in the middle.
Man in the middle with Coletti on the inside. Coletti was able to recover and continue, but had issues later on.
Lap 106. This race has been action-packed. Justin Wilson had to avoid the 2 cars ahead, and he found the wall, PT.
Yeah, just ran up a little bit high on those cars in front of him that were having trouble. Graham right here has been having gearbox trouble, and he has been on fire, coming back twice now. And we have Kanan also ran into trouble tonight, was dominant in the early part of the race, and then mysterious failure. We don't know the reason, but he's out of the race and was disgusted.
And then Stefano Coletti, watch this, it's just a four-wheel slide and then gets sent down to the inside wall. Not all that heavier contact, but it was enough to put him out. And then Scott Dixon sent to the garage. Now listen, folks, and youngsters involved in any kind of sport, that Ganassi team worked all of that time to get Dixon out, and he'll need to do 29 more laps to pass Sato to get just one more point. It was worth it. Tonight brings us to the end of 3 ovals in a row, and speaking of 3, we only have 3 races left. Sunday, August 2nd is the next one on the menu. It's the Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. It has been a classic over the years. Remember Scott Dixon coming from last to first to win that race. He loves that track. And we are under our 6th full course caution of the evening. We will be going racing back shortly. Robin Miller is standing by with the driver who brought out this most recent yellow.
Well, Takuma, first of all, you all right?
Yes, I'm good, thanks.
Looked like the same thing happened to you that happened to Juan Montoya earlier. Tell us what happened.
Probably some kind of right front suspension failure, so it's just suddenly pointing on the wrong way, and I was on the passenger, so it's really a shame. I mean, we're running late. It was good, so it's a pity.
All right, well, we're glad you're okay. Lee?
Yeah, and we're looking at that replay. Thank you, Robin, and Takuma's okay, but for his ABC Supply AJ Foyt racing car, he is out of this race. And we welcome you to a shootout here at the Iowa Corn 300. That's what it's going to be.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen right now. If I'm Hunter Ray, it's all or nothing. Second place doesn't matter. He's had such a frustrating year that he is going to fight like he's trying to win the Indianapolis 500. And I don't think it really matters to him whether he finishes second. He's going to go for it, or it's going to be all or nothing, like I said.
Oh, you bet. We've got an American leading in the heartland of America. 4 Americans in the top 5 as we get ready to go green.
And we're ready to see that green flag. You bet. Joseph Newgarden's keen to get going. Carlos Munoz down on the inside of Sage Karam, who gets squeezed up into...
A little bit of gamesmanship by Hunter Ray. He backed the field up, and everybody stacked up on top of each other. And Karam was the meat in the sandwich, nearly got squeezed by 2 cars.
And we're on board with Ed Carpenter, who's trying to figure out how do I get by Vautier, who's a...
Opportunistic. Rahal on the inside. Karam on the inside. On board with Graham now.
And Sage Karam swerved to the inside like he was dodging something in the track, but...
Then he came back to be on the lead lap with 1 lap down. He's back in this race big time.
And with all the trouble Rahal has had all night, he is now second in the points right now and still moving forward on fresh tires.
The Comfort Revolution car for Sage Karam. There's nothing too comfortable about this. Right alongside Ed Carpenter, and look at this.
There's a salute, a one-fingered salute from Ed Carpenter. He did not like that.
He went to the Paul Tracy School of Sign Language. Look at this. Ed Carpenter does not like what he's experiencing.
Oh, he's getting squeezed again. And that will allow Graham to probably come by.
Screaming for a penalty, Ed Carpenter. An impression on Marco Andretti. It does. Takes 7th away. Next one on his list is Carpenter.
Whoa! Not going to get away with that much longer. He was a very darty, swervy driver at the end of Fontana. In fact,
now he's going to chase down Sage, and we'll see what kind of a fight he puts up. And Sage is not making any friends.
Well, you said, and Karam gets loose up ahead. Paul, you said you'd take tyres if you could, and that's what Rahal did. Hunter Ray has just over half a second over Newgarden. Munoz is in 3rd, Karam 4th, and we ride with Rahal. People have been saying, when's the next Michael Andretti? When's the next Jimmy Vasser? When's the next American hero? Well, you've got Americans 1, 2, 3, and 4. Hunter Ray, Newgarden, Karam, and Rahal.
And Rahal's making me a little bit nervous how high he's running there as the marbles accumulate again on the high side. There's only 4 laps to go.
Andretti Autosport owns this place as far as race results is concerned. The last 6 years in a row.
Got a little bit of lap traffic and some turbulence a few hundred yards up the road. He's maintaining the gap, driving, checking.
To break the drought for Ryan Hunter-Ray. Newgarden has run an extremely impressive race. In fact, he's led the most laps. 1 year ago was Ryan Hunter-Ray's last victory. RHR drives back to victory lane. Hunter-Ray is back. after a year basically invisible, Ryan Hunter-Reay stands upon the podium on the very top step and continues this Andretti steamroller here in Iowa. Incredible. And
here we go.
And here we go.
And
contrast of emotions here.
I called that. We
Talk
got some
about
crew
some
guys. Crew guys are now coming over to.
Ed Carpenter wants Sage Karam. He is not happy. This is big. He got in a little confrontation with Juan Pablo Montoya last year, but this is. And
the fact that IndyCar doesn't let you do anything about it is bullshit.
And we apologize about the language. Obviously, we're live and emotions are running high. And Ed Carpenter saying to Sage Karam, you've got to learn to respect the other drivers on track. He does not like the way that this young rookie has conducted himself today.
Look through some rose-tinted glasses. I saw you drive your team at my picture. If Scott's on, dude, you need to grow up. You keep it cool. Come on.
All right, so not reaching perhaps the pitch that we thought it might get to, but Ed Carpenter keeping his cool in front of the cameras, and I'm sure that they will have further words when our cameras aren't present. That's a side story. This is the story. Ryan Hunter-Reay back in victory lane. How about that? And for Andretti Autosport, it's been a lean year. There's Michael, and he owns and runs the team that has now won 7 of 9 times at this racing venue.
And an American on top. And when's the last time we had 4 Americans? 1, 2, 3, 4 going down to Rahal, Ed Carpenter in 6. Guys, we're in the heartland of this country, and Saturday night shootout on a short oval.
I'll tell you what, this is going to save the season for Hunter-Reay. He's had so much disappointment this year. He had such a great year last year, and it's just been frustration after frustration after frustration. You're going to see a guy who's finally breathed a sigh of relief.
A year is a long time to go without a victory.
All right, and Ryan Hunter-Reay has all this confetti settled.
This year. Now, I know some of you will be turning on to catch the motocross that was coming up at the top of the hour. We will run a little late here, but we'll get you back to motocross as soon as we can. We're going to finish things off properly here in Iowa on a night to remember, particularly for Ryan Hunter-Reay and Andretti Autosport. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Iowa Corn, our state, our fields, our ethanol. And by DA Lubricant Company, performance-engineered lubricants since 1919. Visit dalube.com.